Welcome to Nestlé Next Level Digital, a podcast where Nestlé reimagines digital transformation to the next level as the world's largest food and beverage company, using the power of food innovation to enhance lives. If you're new here, we invite you to discover Nestlé through the lens of our leaders. Each episode presents valuable insights on our digital initiatives and driving growth and sustainability as we make an impact for everyone today and for generations to come.
Hello and welcome to the Nestlé Next Level Digital Podcast series, where we talk about the latest innovations and transformations happening globally. I'm your host, Moto, the Head of External Communications for Nestlé in East and Southern Africa region. Today's topic is around digital transformation within supply chain management, and we will have a clear focus on what this means and how it is implemented within South Africa. But before we get into the topic, let us just bring a little bit of focus into where we are situated. In South Africa, this serves as the base for our 23 countries made up in East and Southern Africa region, part of a global family of 187 countries, and we employ over 291,000 people. My guest for today actually oversees 3,200 employees within our region, and she is the CEO of Nestlé in East and Southern Africa region, Nicole Roos. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Marta. It's an absolute privilege to be talking to you all today. And as you said, I'm Nicole Roos. First, I'm the proud mom of two little people and married to a wonderful partner. I began my career at Nestlé almost 23 years ago, and I'm really encouraged by our business progress. The business actually appointed me as our first female managing director of the beautiful region, which you described as ESAR, and really a historic moment for our ESAR region. Our appointment also comes at a time where each milestone is going to demonstrate such important growth for our region and how we're realizing our purpose. And that purpose is really about unlocking the power of food to enhance that quality of life for every day, for today, and for generations to come. And we play such an important and meaningful role in enhancing the competitiveness of our customers, creating fulfilling opportunities for our employees across the region, and lastly, being a socially accountable business partner. As CEO of the East and Southern Africa region, my role involves important aspects. The first, strategic leadership and setting direction, driving performance, managing stakeholder relationships, developing young talent, of course ensuring operational excellence across our beautiful region, and promoting shared value while managing risk and ensuring compliance. I also oversee the region's business objectives, sales and marketing strategy and delivery, workforce development, operational activities, and adherence to ethical standards in everything we do. At the moment, my focus is really on driving growth, contributing to the Africa region's socio-economic development, and upholding Nestlé's values and principles and our commitment on creating shared value. At the moment, one of our most important enablers is digital transformation and unlocking the growth potential for Africa.
But before we kick things off, let's really talk about blockchain technology. I mean, Nestlé has done phenomenal work across the globe. But when we talk about blockchain, what is it and how would that apply to us as a region?
It's a great question, Marta. I think first, maybe for context for all our listeners, it might be beneficial for us to first start with what is blockchain, and maybe it would help just with the definition and how it's applied then to us. So first, we see blockchain technology essentially as a digital database where transactions or records, which we call blocks, are linked together in a chain in chronological order. And each block contains cryptographic sequences of previous blocks, a timestamp, and of course transactional data. With that in mind, blockchain tech has really allowed companies like Nestlé to track our products from distribution centers where our products are manufactured and then stored in the end-to-end value chain. This is important for our consumers and important for us because it provides us with real-time data on each step of the journey. And this incredible transparency not only strengthens quality and safety tracking, but it also enables really quick responses to any issues that we may pick up along the value chain.
And now that's fascinating, because when we look at Nestlé, we've seen that Nestlé's been around for over 150 years, innovating, inspiring our youth, inspiring those that want to bring the best of their minds and capabilities to our region. So let's look at a case in point. I've been told that sources have told me that Nestlé recently adopted the Internet of Things in its supply chain operation. One specific moment was the distribution center in South Africa. Can you tell us exactly what that entailed and what was the application of that software?
Absolutely. It's really been an incredible journey. So for us, the IoT, Internet of Things, and particularly device connectivity plays a really critical role now in our supply chain. And what it has done for us is it's starting to provide real-time data, particularly on inventory levels, temperature control throughout our supply chain, and also transport conditions. This data is allowing us to optimize our supply chain operations, and in particular, it's helping us to gain important steps in product quality and also enhances our overall efficiency within the supply chain. Now, Marta, in 2021, we actually began piloting a very exciting automation project, which I think will really excite your listeners. And it began within one of our DCs, so one of our distribution centers. And as we started to deploy this particular IoT project, which I'll touch on in a minute, we really gained a lot of picking accuracy, very important for a business that's in fast-moving consumer goods. We've also gained a lot of operational productivity, while we've also been able to reduce our operational cost. Now, what is it? You may wonder. Well, we've deployed a series of AGVs. I'm sure your listeners are
very
thinking,
technical.
What is that? What is an AGV?
Yeah.
An AGV is an automated guided vehicle. It operates fully autonomously, or better known as an AGV system. And these were introduced actually for the purposes of our logistics efficiencies, particularly in our Longmeadow distribution in South Africa. And what we've now deployed is almost 17 AGVs, and these automated guided vehicles are responsible for the finished goods movement inside the warehouse. And it works that we use them from inbound to storage, and we use them again from retrieval from storage back out to the staging bays and then onto our customers. So an incredible operation to see. And we're really, really proud of the fact that our distribution center is so highly automated now.
I mean, I can just imagine this image in my mind, the Uber of logistics happening in Nestlé's operations. And you can just think of a very tall structure automatically picking, storing in its bay, being ordered really to provide efficiencies for Nestlé. It sounds fascinating. I mean, 17 of these, I can imagine that they are quite significantly large. It's provided some great progress for Nestlé. But what other implications has it had on the operations? Can you tell us about that?
You're right, it is quite a thing to see, and it inspires us on our automation and digitalization journey, obviously, to want to do more. You highlight something so important, Marta. It was a massive operation. I think from concept to design to full-scale go-live, every part of the distribution center had to undergo change, and this was an end-to-end transformation. The interfaces, obviously, between our SAP systems that we run and the AGVs had to show important and significant upgrades and upliftments. And that was to allow us to deploy the new technology with our existing infrastructure. And also we had to improve the productivity that we had on the DC shop floor as well. So at the moment, we don't have human intervention when the AGVs are running, meaning that we can now run the DC unmanned without disruption of stoppages or any hindrances in our capabilities, which really mean we've gained a lot in terms of efficiency and, of course, productivity. What's also been highly beneficial is the quality of our inbound pallets of product has really improved, also because of those systematic checks and reporting capabilities that we've gained in the supply chain, particularly with full pallet picking accuracy, where we've also seen quite sizable improvements in our ability to run our supply chain.
I mean, listen to the story. Again, we're talking about the supply chain mechanisms that really being transformed from an FMCG just like Nestlé, right in the heart of Africa. Nicole, we belong to the zone of Asia, Oceania, and Africa, and made up of an entirely diverse geography of the world. What has been some of the learnings that our peers and our neighboring countries can take from what we've gone through since 2021?
That's a great question, Marta. I think for us, we're part of Zone AOA. So we're part of Zone Asia, Oceania, and Africa. We're made up of 113 countries. We work across 12 time zones, and having access to almost 2 billion consumers, our region is definitely an exciting one, particularly for our youth to be working in. Across this beautiful region, automation is really, really topical, and we're interested to find new ways where automation can be performed across our supply chain. In particular, we're doing a lot of work, great work, to demonstrate how the business can be impacted by boosting efficiency, by eliminating waste, by finding error, and the ability for automation and digitalization to aid us in our experiences, particularly when we have that intersection between automation and people. And we know that is obviously the heart of any operation that remains with us today, but exciting that our region is really driving a lot of this progress.
And now when you think of Nestlé, you don't often think about efficiencies. You don't often think about having to do the best way we can. But it seems like it was such an optimistic challenge that we undertook, right? We wanted to get things done the best of our ability in that efficiency. But now let's delve a little bit deeper into the data behind this. What is informing the decisions around our operations? So when we look at forecasting and optimization, Nicole, how is Nestlé leveraging this to our benefit?
Yeah, I think first, Marta, we must remember that, particularly for your listeners, that the business need was really to increase picking accuracy and productivity. And by introducing the automated guided vehicles, those AGVs that I was mentioning, it is really exciting that their potential would actually streamline workflow and waste. And in addition, we are now able to, of course, run that operation 24 hours, 7 days a week, which has increased our volume output. And by allowing us to run at that level, we now have a very powerful opportunity to unlock data analytics. And answering your question then directly, we now are able to analyze a lot of historical data and market trends. We're able to also better predict demand. We're obviously now working a lot harder on augmenting inventory levels across the supply chain. And ultimately, this will allow us more and more to streamline our distribution processes. By leveraging the power of that predictive analytics, as you described, we can also ensure that we're able to meet more of our consumer demands, which is really why we're here, and ultimately to effectively and very efficiently drive growth across Southern and Eastern Africa. In the business of food, data is actually now our currency. So a lot of exciting work being done where we're able to use predictive analytics, leverage our data, and ultimately service the delivery of food, and particularly fast-moving consumer goods and food, more efficiently.
If you've just joined us, we're talking to Nicole Roos. She is the CEO of Nestlé East and Southern Africa region, and I'm your host, Mota Mota. So we're talking again around the business continuity, Nicole. We're looking at digital transformation, but let's switch a tact a bit. Let's be a little bit more candid and really reflect on the people that were involved in the automation journey that Nestlé did in South Africa. When we look and wanting to address some of the key concerns around the continuity and how that transition was actually effective for our people. You mentioned that currently we don't have human intervention in some of the operations of the automated guided vehicles. What did our retailers, how did they respond to that? How did we bring them on that evolution? Can you reflect and think about some things that were quite significant in that?
Yes, I think starting, we must remember that our core role is ultimately to grow our business. We've been on the African continent in Southern and Eastern Africa for over 115 years, and our role is really to grow and to ensure that our business increases its competitiveness, particularly in South Africa. And with this in mind, we need to continue to be as lean and as agile as possible. Now, in order to do that, we acknowledge that we need to build oxygen continuously into our operations. And in order to deliver value to our shoppers and our consumers and the people ultimately who buy our wonderful brands, this is a top priority. And how we go about doing that, we are always looking for important opportunities to gain agility and efficiency. So for that to work, Mata, we of course had to ensure that our retail and trade partners were constantly involved in our journey. So we did a lot of communication, a lot of change management, and we were really constantly involved in communicating where we were in our change project, how the automation would impact our operation and that of our customers, and also right the way down our value chain, starting from the point of production in our facilities as well. We also conducted a lot of on-site tours. I think it's one thing for us to be talking about it today, but it's quite a thing to feel it and experience it. And that was a real learning, is creating an understanding and live setting of the change we were trying to bring about. And with heightened transparency, we were really then able to strive and achieve minimal impact, particularly on those that were affected, because they were aware of the change, they were enabled with the benefits that would come. And lastly, our people, really centering down on providing our employees an understanding of the change, an understanding of the transformation, and really enabling a lot of fair training and transparent understanding of the functional gains that this automation would bring the organization. And finally, I think, in the end, these AGVs indeed are machines, but they ultimately interface with a very human operation. And it was important that we took our people along on that change journey.
And I love that. It's about being a force for good, right? Nestlé's philosophy. And if you are out there looking into your youth and wanting to consider a career in supply chain, as you can see, it's a little bit more than just logistics and physical admin. This requires a really well-coordinated task moment. And Nicole, when you look at some of the biggest opportunities that our region has had, lastly, looking at how do you find it that this deployment will actually enable us to continue to be a beacon of excellence when looking at digital excellence in the region?
I think first it's important to acknowledge we've spoken a lot about the positive steps, Marta, but I just want to bring attention into our conversation, and I won't lie, as with any new implementation, it was actually very tricky. In the beginning, our journey actually had a lot of teething pains, and I think it's an important learning, particularly for your listeners, is that any digital transformation really needs a lot of well thought through change management, and in some ways we learned that up front. As a region, given such a vast majority geography that we're servicing, we're 23 countries, headquartered here out of Johannesburg. But for us, the geography opportunity on this continent means that we have to think ahead about efficiency and agility. And we were talking about that just now. We're also susceptible to a lot of economic and logistics pressures doing business here on this continent. So I think giving these emerging market dynamics consideration, knowing that our distribution servicing such a big region had to become fully integrated, had to become more automated, had to ensure phased deployments. We thought about it right in the beginning and thought that we could, go at this with a big bang. I think we learned that lesson quite quickly, that actually smaller phased deployments on such big change are very, very important, and particularly when you have to manage the risk on not disrupting the supply chain on such important rollouts. So in some instances, these challenges were heavy. We had to maintain shelf availability. At the same time, we had to ensure that our products were flowing in and out of the distribution center seamlessly while ensuring so much change. So equipping people, equipping systems, biting a big change project off into smaller parts, ensuring we were prepared with structural capacity, learning about capex fluctuations. We were, of course, dealing with a lot of disruption in the global supply chain also during the time of deployment. So a lot of consideration. And so I think it's just also important for our listeners to be aware that when we bump into these roadblocks, particularly on big projects like this, that we need agility again, we need immediate response, but most importantly, we need to ensure that our end goal of protecting the value chain, protecting of the supply chain is not hindered. So to come back to your question, I think for us, we're excited about the growth. I think for us, any big deployment, any big digital transformation project does need business continuity plans. In the end, we have to protect our business operations. And in order to not allow for that disruption during the transition, the teams really worked very hard on employing additional capability. Again, back to our people, we were really training. Concurrent to that training, we were supporting with additional shifts to allow our people to really absorb this new knowledge, and also ultimately ensuring that we had direct communication channels with our teams, with our people. We spoke earlier about with our retailers, with our suppliers, and ultimately ensuring a smooth transition. Now, with that in mind, that is how we're going to unlock efficiency for the continent. And I'm very, very optimistic that indeed digital, and particularly digital transformation, is a huge enabler for our continent, for our wider region, and most importantly for the work that we're doing today in South Africa. Finally, in turn, with all this great opportunity that we see in automation and digitalization, we are optimistic that this is a performance enhancer, and it is going to allow us to grow faster in the Southern and Eastern Africa region.
I mean, Nicole, there's so much in there, right? It's packed with knowledge, experience. I mean, I remember when I first joined the company and we were going through this transition, it's unimaginable the scale of what we can do in our operations when we collectively bind together and know what our focus is. But being headquartered in Johannesburg, like you said, for the base of our region, it's obviously driven around performance, right? How do you feel that digital transformation has contributed to the performance within South Africa?
I think for us, the opportunity of becoming more focused, as you said, was really, really big. And our people are now able to spend their time on analytics, spend their time on insights generation, and ultimately support that drive for growth. And as I said, that drive of focus and efficiency, automation, analytics is ultimately what's really creating an energy in our people, particularly our young talent. Very exciting to work in such dynamic and high change environments. And so we're seeing a lot of culture gain, a lot of optimism that indeed digital transformation is a real enabler. And like I said, I'm very, very optimistic about the supply chain's role in Africa, particularly in the Nestlé supply chain. We see a lot of opportunity in the management in Africa in particular. I see it bright. I see it as an exciting place, particularly for young talent to work. And we're excited because we're embracing that digitalization enabler. We spoke about that. We are looking a lot at leveraging technology, really driving innovation in the supply chain, but also beyond in the wider operation. We are a company that wants to be a lighthouse, particularly for digital enhancements and digital transformation across Africa. And finally, I'm very pleased that all of this innovation and change actually also brings heightened safety. Safety for our people, safety for our employees, safety for our consumers. And ultimately living out, as you said, that Nestlé purpose. It allows us to really stay at the forefront of supply chain management, service our customers, service our shoppers and our consumers, and ultimately deliver value across Southern and Eastern Africa.
Nicole, thank you for that positive outlook. I think Africa is gleaming with hope. We require some of these collaborations to coexist, and we can only see us growing from strength to strength. Shout out to our listeners and viewers if you've been listening to us. This was the Nestlé Nest Level Digital Podcast. With me was the CEO for East and Southern Africa region, and I'm still your host, Mota, head of external communications. We might be over 150 years old, but we're definitely ready for the future, and we're a force for good.
If you enjoyed today's episode, sign up to our Tele Network to stay connected. Your feedback matters to us, and let us know what you think via our survey. Check out our links in the description.